So I feel like there's a lot of opportunities here where you are in charge. You're going to be either taking care of people or, making sure that people are well taken care of. And so I feel like there's some project here that are in the works for you that will make you really happy. It's kind of like right up your alley, and it speaks to it will require you to tap into all the skills that you're very proud of within yourself. Being a good caretaker, being of service to other people, being in an environment where you can, make a situation better for a group of people, for humanity in some way. So I feel like it's not ego driven. It's a position or a situation where you can put all your skills to good use, and this is where your energy needs to be focused. Okay. Um, you have two aces here. Oops, sorry. You have the Ace of Wands, which is new projects. Okay, something that's coming in very, very fast, very, very fast, and it's catching you unawares. I'm feeling. And then we have as well the Ace of Swords and two aces. And the Ace of Swords is about being decisive. It's about figuring out what you want. It's about being clear with yourself about what you want. It's about being decisive and not waffling back and forth and then telling yourself, I just feel like one day you're just like very gung-ho about it. You're very like much on board. And then the next day, the self-doubt creeps in. What ifs? What if this? What if that? And so I just feel like you can be 100% decisive one day, and then the next day you're kind of waffling back and forth. And so this is pretty much, telling yourself, choose something and commit to that course of action until that course of action has run dry. I feel for many of you, this could also be like a relationship situation where from one day to the next, the relationship is like an emotional roller coaster. Okay. And when when it's like at a high point, it's really good. And you're just like, I want to marry this person. And then when the there's like an emotional dip, or when, there's like, it's at a low point, you're just like, I want to break off this relationship. And so things are very extreme. Okay. Things are very like much like from one day to the next is very extreme. And I feel like, your emotions, your feelings are change based on things that are, you feel though it's outside of your control. But what I'm sensing here is, there are certain things that we need to be decisive about, okay? And there are things that we need to anticipate. Life is not going to be a bed of roses. I almost feel like, this energy about romanticizing things too much, wanting everything to be rainbow and lollipop. I feel like you're smart enough to understand that there are always going to be high and lows, okay? But in the end, like at the end of the day, everything balances out. But I feel like for many of you, when the high is really high, you're kind of like caught up in that emotional high and you're trying to recreate it. And so when the situation hits an emotional low, you feel like you can't handle. You feel like you don't want to be in it. You feel like you can't handle it. And so what I'm sensing is when it's an emotional high, take it for what it is. And, understand that there will always be good days. There will always be bad days. And don't let those bad days dictate how you feel. Don't let those bad days get you into a negative space. So emotional moderation is one thing, but also being realistic enough to know that there are always going to be ups and downs in life, at work, in relationships, in all your interpersonal dealings. And so as a result of that, realizing that and recognizing it, I feel it's going to make things a lot more realistic, okay? A lot more manageable, so that your emotional state is not rattled every single time, okay? So it's like, don't measure a situation based on all the emotional highs and lows. Because the way you measure something, it's going to fall somewhere in between, okay? Because at the end of the day, those emotional highs and low will calibrate and they'll even out. And so don't measure how you feel about a situation, about a job, about a person. Don't measure the past, especially based on those emotional highs and lows. Take them all in their totality, okay? I do feel like there's going to be a lot of communication coming through, okay? So we have here the messenger, page of swords, okay? This is like somebody with envelopes, like physical mail that you are getting at your door, okay? Packages, mail, communication, emails, text messages, phone calls, and things like that. Keep your phone charged. Make sure that you're not missing anything. I also feel like there is an element here about reading something too fast and then shooting off an email and then finding out that, you know, that you might have read something incorrectly. So really taking the time to scan those emails, to sit still and be, you know, and diligently read everything that's included in that message, rather than what you want it to say, or rather than what you think it's saying to you. Read what it's really saying, because I feel like it's almost like I'm seeing a message where somebody is saying like either or, like, do you want to do this? If not, you want to do this instead. And then all of a sudden your mind clamps on to the first thing that you see, and you're just like, oh, I want to do that. And then, so I feel like, you know, there's a fixity, like a fixedness when it comes to reading what you think you want it to say rather than what it's really saying to you. Okay. A lot of the times during the Mercury retrograde period, the shadow, we're going to leave the shadow period completely by, I believe that it's the 11th or the 15th. I can't remember. I didn't keep track of it this month. But what it does is that, when the Mercury retrograde cycle is happening, Mercury, the planet that facilitates communication, mental processes, processing information, and so forth, is not in the sky. It's working its way backwards. And when it's not there, we have to be extra diligent about doing our part to make sure communications don't happen. So that means we need to scan emails. We need to read it twice. We need to make sure something is sent. We also need to make sure that we don't miss messages or important communication that's coming through. We also need to make sure that when we say something, we explain ourselves so that other people don't misconstrue what we say. And so I feel like it's a important time to, you know, take that extra protective measure to make sure that you're reading what is really on the page, not what your mind wants to see. Okay. And so there's a lot of important communication, very, very, very important communication coming through. And it's linked up here with the Wheel of Fortune. So Ace of Swords and the Wheel of Fortune. And the Wheel of Fortune it's a major arcana card. It's a big deal. And it's a really, really good card. It's basically telling you your luck is turning for the better. And it's basically telling you one major cycle of your life is coming to an end. And the wheel is turning so that something new is coming in, okay? This is a major life-changing type of a month for you. And you have a lot of executive decisions that you need to make. You need to be very decisive. And you need to verbally, I'm hearing this crowing of the rooster. You need to very, very physically, like, verbally tell somebody how you feel. This could be like, you know, no, leave me alone, or no, I'm not for sale, or no, this is not what I want, or no, this is something that I want. So whatever it is that you need to say, I feel like you need to verbally say it. You need to, you know, state your intentions. You need to be able to not only think about what you want and feel what you want, but you need to be verbally able to state exactly what you want and to be very decisive, okay? For those of you who are going through like any type of a situation where you're kind of like put on center stage and you have to defend your stance, or you have to make a speech, or you have to do a presentation, or you have to, you know, persuade somebody or even get somebody to come around to your point of view, you have kind of like that golden chalice. You have the gift of the gab, and you have the power of persuasion. Okay. And so there are a lot of messages that are coming through and a lot of like communication that will be front and center for this month. Make sure that we are stating our intentions very, very clearly. The last card that I do want to talk about here is we have here the Seven of Wands. And the Seven of Wands is, okay, so let me just talk about this. You and Libras and Pisces, this is an energy of assertiveness, okay? Cancers, I feel that you, Libras and Pisces, are like wildly inoffensive, very, very inoffensive. So that means that you don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to upset anybody. You guys are really, really nice. And I feel like, you know, you would never go out of your way to make yourself kind of like center stage, okay? For those of you who have like a lot of Leo placement, or even like fire sign placement, Sagittarius, or even Aries, you might want to rock the boat. But I feel like the majority of you, this is somebody who's like very inoffensive. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to hurt anybody. They don't want to be a contrarian. They don't want to go against the herd. Not that you're not opinionated, but I feel like you're opinionated, and but in a crowd, I feel like, you know, you want to kind of like go with the herd. And the Seven of Wands, this is about, you know, battling all the opposition. Okay, this is like being stuck on a hill and all the wands are coming at you, where you have to defend yourself, where you have to defend your stance, where you have to like explain to other people why you believe in the things that you believe in and why you feel a specific way. And so this is a card mainly about, it's about self-awareness. It's about self-assertion. It's about assertiveness and, you know, really giving somebody a piece of your mind so that they leave you alone. Okay. Kind of like that young man with the Oldsmobile. This car is not for sale, sir. And, you know, raise your voice, say what you need to say so that the other person gets out of your face. And I feel like there's a lot of power to be had here by speaking your truth, by stating your intention, by, you know, saying something with assertiveness, and let that be enough to make the other person accept what you have to say. It's not about, you know, repeating ourselves. No, it's not really for sale. And kind of like in a passive aggressive way, but like saying, no, it's not for sale. I'm not for sale. I don't want your money. I don't want your attention. I don't want anything you have to give me. And so I feel in a way, it's sort of like, coming to terms with times in the past where you have not been like this, where you felt like your power, the things that you say have been drowned out, where you felt like you didn't have an opportunity to speak your truth. And coming into the month of March is about rectifying these missed opportunities. It's about looking at the past and figuring out, where have I been kind of like wishy-washy, or where have I not been assertive, or where have I let my truth kind of drown out or get drowned out by the voice of the herd. Okay. Or where have I been really passive aggressive with people, and, you know, they kept pushing me, they kept encroaching upon my boundaries and my space, and they didn't leave me alone. What could I have done differently? And I feel like a lot of it is just this massive crowing, like, stating your truth and being very firm. So, you know, sometimes it's not the things that we say, but the tone. Okay. So like having a very firm stance, and you can't have a firm, it's like you can't say something firmly and with conviction unless you feel it in every fiber of your being. You have to feel something a certain way. Like you have to feel it, and you have to feel that conviction before you can stand in front of a crowd or stand in front of an opponent to be able to tell them, you know, back off. Okay. So this is about reclaiming your space, and this is about reclaiming, you know, your sense of self, knowing yourself well, knowing what works for you, and defending that. Okay. I feel like for many of you, there might have been a relationship situation here where somebody might have said some mean things. Okay. And I feel like, you know, there's no going back to it. Okay. Cancer, there's no going back to it. It's 10 of Swords here. And then Ace of Swords is about cutting off. It's a severance. It's it's done and over with. We can't really go back to it. Many of you have freed yourself from potentially someone who's like verbally abusive, and you're in a state where you're very happy. And I'm really glad to see this for you. And so keep doing you and focusing on that and focusing on how to move your situation forward. So we're focusing on movement, and we're trying to move away from these two cards, which denotes to me, you know, like mulling over the past, trying to justify it, trying to make sense of it. And you want to focus your attention here, okay?